I hope all is well. I hope all is well. Bear with me as I'm getting everything pulled up. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. I know I'm a couple of minutes late, y'all. Bear with me. Hello, hello. Welcome in. Welcome in. I'm just pulling us up on both sides here. How have you been? Yeah, I'm pulling up on our YouTube and Instagram, so we're almost there and we'll get started. We're talking about how do we know that we are growing or healing today? And I'll give people some time to load in on the YouTube. But I'm excited for today's live. This was voted on last week on YouTube. Good. I've been good on this side. I'm in school now, so it's been been a lot. It's been a lot, but I've been good. But yeah, so this was voted on from our poll from last week, where a lot of people voted on multiple topics. So our topic last week what was our topic last week, y'all? I'm going through a thing. I am going through a thing. Calming stress. How do we calm stress? Any calming stress techniques and tips? That's what we went through last week. But we also voted on heavy. How do we know that we're healing? How do we know that we're growing? So since that was the second most liked, we're doing that today. But as we got everybody loading in on YouTube, I hope all is well with you guys. If this is your first time, my name is Debbie. I'm a certified mindfulness coach. Also, a current counseling graduate student. So coming up on practicum soon, we'll be sitting with clients very soon. Hi, Ava. Welcome in. But yeah, so I'm excited to talk through this particular topic just based off of the poll. And this channel was all things mindfulness, anything that has to do with mental health we talk about. We have meditations posted every week. Even though last week was a tough week for me, we didn't get one, but you should get two this week. But we post meditations every week, and then every Monday we do a live talking about whatever mental health discussions that you guys want to talk about based off of the poll that I put on the YouTube on Saturday. So I hope that this is helpful. This is what you guys asked for. So I really do appreciate you guys joining every week. Hi, Kennedy. Welcome in. So I will Yappy Banjo, I think that's what it is. Welcome in. So we're going to dive into the topic tonight. So I have 7 ways of knowing and understanding that you are growing or healing. So I'm going to talk about those a little bit more in detail, and then I'll leave you guys with affirmations at the end that you can take away. We'll have about 7 affirmations. So 7 and 7, number of completion, perfection. But I hope these are helpful. And if there's anything that you want to add to it, if you have any other ideas that you can think of that you want to pop into the comments, please do. And make sure to like the live. Make sure to share the live with anybody you think that can benefit from this conversation. And please talk back to me, y'all. This is going to be a very interactive conversation. So if you have questions, need me to repeat anything, let me know. Okay. So, how do I know I'm healing? The first way I would say that you would know that you are healing is to start with the fact that you have the desire of growth. You have the desire of healing. A lot of times we struggle with healing because of the fact that we don't realize that there's an issue or a problem. So having that actual desire for growth is the first key indicator that we are on the journey of growing, that we are on the journey of getting better. when you're starting to take more accountability for yourself, when you are starting to be more honest and truthful with yourself about what you're going through, what you're experiencing, what your limitations are, what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are. So a lot of times we do not go through the process of healing because we go through a whole lot of denial. We go through a whole lot of uh, situations where we're not being accountable for our emotions, our triggers, our traumas. We're not even thinking about it, or it's not even on our mind. So the fact that we're have the desire of growth or getting better. Hi, Melissa, welcome in. If we have the desire of growth and getting better, that desire in itself is an indicator of growth. So even the fact that you're here, even the fact that you are thinking about it is a signal, right? Or the initial signal. You actively seeking to get better is an indication of I'm growing, I'm getting better, right? So that's point number one. Point number two takes that a little bit more, or a step further, is we have increased self-awareness, right? So we have a better grasp of our emotions. We have a better grasp of our triggers and our behaviors and our actions. And even when it comes to our emotions and feelings, we don't just have awareness of those emotions, but we allow them to show. If we have to cry, we cry. If we're sad, we allow ourselves to be sad. If we're upset, we allow ourselves to process that anger. So we are not pushing down our emotions, but we are allowing ourselves to process them in a healthy way. Now, granted, if we're angry and we're going off on everybody and all of that, that's one thing. But if you actually have your emotions and you can name your emotions, you can experience your emotions and allow them to process, that's a really key indicator that you are healing or beginning the process of healing and growing, right? So you have a better grasp of those things. And then also, you're becoming more aware and even adjusting how you speak to yourself. When it comes to self-talk, you may have a lot of, or experience a lot of negative self-talk. When it comes to increasing your awareness, you are becoming more aware, but even making small changes here and there, with that awareness. Because sometimes we may be aware of things and we may pick up on things, but we don't necessarily do anything about it, or we're not active about making any changes. So those small steps that we take in that self-awareness is definitely an indicator of growth, or we're in the process of growing, or we're healing. Okay. Point number three, we have better decision making. So you intentionally choose your battles. You intentionally choose and are very careful and intentional about the decisions that you're making. A lot of times when we are in that phase of desiring to grow or to be better, we are making very rash decisions. We're very responsive, or reactive versus responsive. And just thinking about those times where in the past where you would have made a decision that may not have been the best decision, and then you find yourself in that same situation, but you're making better decisions, that's definitely a key indicator of growth, right? Where you're not responding how you used to respond. You're more intentional in thinking through how you respond to things versus you just being reactive, okay? So better decision making is definitely a key indicator. Number four, you're less concerned with external validation. A lot of times when it comes to our growth and our healing, when we're in the beginning of that, we don't want to go through the process because we're concerned about what's going to happen around us, right? What's going to happen in our environment, what's going to happen in how people react to our change or adjustments, and the growth that we're making, right? So as you're growing, as you're healing, you become less concerned about that external validation. So your self-confidence and self-worth is growing. You let go of the need to perform in whatever space that you find yourself in. So you find less of a need to perform at work, less of a need to perform in your relationships, less of a need to perform in a lot of different ways. So you're embracing yourself, you're accepting yourself, you're embracing and accepting your own authenticity, right? So that's a huge aspect of it. Make sure I'm not missing anything there. You're embracing the things about yourself that you used to reject, right? So there may be pieces of yourself in the past that you rejected because it didn't fit into the mold that you wanted to fit in, or you were told that you needed to fit in. So those pieces of yourself that you used to reject, that were healthy pieces of yourself, but you just rejected for whatever reason, you're now beginning to embrace those things and accept those things. And then you are actively practicing self-compassion, but also practicing self-advocacy. So when you find yourself advocating for yourself a lot more, when you are compassionate with what you are, within yourself. So if you are more compassionate within yourself, you're more kind to yourself, that you're taking the time to allow yourself to be versus trying to force yourself into this little box. And then in addition to that, advocating for yourself, taking the time to think of ways that you can advocate for yourself in situations that are not the best situations to be in. So less concerned with external validation, more concerned with your self-compassion and self-advocacy, and allowing yourself to be who you are authentically. Okay. So that was number 4. Number 5. And this is a tough one, right? And it may be easier for some and more difficult for others, but setting and sticking to your boundaries. Because we may be great at setting boundaries, but not so great at sticking to those boundaries. So setting and sticking to your boundaries is a very, very important key indicator that you are growing or that you are healing. Healthier communication when it comes to those boundaries. So we may be good at internalizing what boundaries we need, and even setting those boundaries, but we may not be the best at communicating them. So when you're able to really get more comfortable with communicating your boundaries and setting those boundaries and sticking to those boundaries, that's definitely a huge one when thinking about how am I growing, am I healing, am I getting better, is this self-work that I'm doing, is it working, right? So setting and sticking to your boundaries, healthier communication. You're not shying away from difficult conversations or difficult situations. A lot of times when we are unhealed, we are avoiding things. We practice avoidance instead of practicing, acceptance. And so when you find yourself not shying away from the difficult situations or the difficult conversations, but leaning into those things, that is a huge sign for growth. Because if you're not growing, if you're based in your own trauma, if you're based in survival mode, if you're based in that flight or fight, right, or fight or flight, you're going to shy away or avoid difficult conversations, difficult emotions, difficult situations, difficult environments. And difficult can just basically mean uncertain, or situations and conversations that you've never been in before. So take into consideration that if you are diving into those difficult situations, scenarios, and environments, that's an indicator that you are healing or growing. And lastly, on number 5, and I kind of alluded to this, but just taking care of yourself, like taking priority of putting your self-care and taking care of yourself as priority. A lot of times when we're having difficulty healing or growing, we are typically neglecting ourselves. And that's what creates the spiral of trauma, or that's what creates the spiral of uh, not being able to respond in situations the way that you would have liked to respond. So when you find yourself taking care of yourself more, you are diving into self-care. You are, again, setting those boundaries and sticking to those boundaries. And even just gaining more of an understanding of you and understanding your limitations, your strengths, your weaknesses, what you can do, what you can't do, and navigating life within that instead of trying to push yourself past that. So I'll be number 5. Yes, number 5. Number 6, you have more resilience when setbacks come up. So when it comes to understanding whether you're growing or healing, that comes out the most when you run into situations that are difficult, right? Because you may feel healed and feel like you have a whole lot of growth when it comes to life, and when you're in situations that are great and that are working for you and things are positive and there's upward movement. But when you run into situations that are not so great, when you run into situations that feel like a setback, how you handle those situations can determine where you are on whether you're growing. So thinking about situations that have happened in the past that are mirror, some of the things that are happening now, and if you handled it differently then than you did now, did you see growth in how you handled it before and how you handled it now, right? That's a key indicator of growth. How did you respond? What was your mindset like? What was your perspective like in this situation? What was your mindset in regards to how you approached your response, or how you reacted to your response in these situations? So actively checking your mindset, your perspectives, and your responses is important to understand whether you're growing or not, right? The fact that you're not afraid of the discomfort of doing hard things, where in the past it may have been really, really difficult for you to do those things, right? One thing that you have to understand about growth is that being uncomfortable is going to be common in the growing pains, right? Where you are going to find yourself in uncertain and uncomfortable situations, but how you handle them can determine whether you are healing or whether you have that growth, right? So being very intentional about putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations, even though it may not feel so nice. Hello, Dylan, welcome in. Even though it may not feel so nice, understanding that growth and pain can be simultaneous. It can happen at the same time. You can heal and be uncomfortable at the same time. And typically they're going to be mirroring each other, right? So just understanding that growth and pain can happen at the same time. Discomfort and growth can happen at the same time. But the more that you're able to lean into those things, and the more that you are able to embrace and accept that discomfort, the more you can take into consideration, like, hey, maybe I am healing, maybe I am growing, maybe I am getting better, even though it may not feel that way. Okay. And then I know that we talked about, okay, practicing acceptance, stepping away from control. That's one piece that I missed. So even in that acceptance, right, and resilience in your setbacks, understanding that you can't control any and everything, right? So when you really truly understand that you're not able to control everything, and practice acceptance in the things that you can't control, and diving in and putting your time and energy into the spaces that you know that you can control, that's how you know that you're growing, or you are healing, or you are progressing, right? Hi, Javad, welcome in. Okay, so that was number 6. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, ultimately, you know that you are healing when you are able to navigate your tough times better or better than you have in the past. And then, lastly, when it comes to how you know you're healing or growing, is that your circle begins to change or evolve. The people that you are hanging with, those relationships may change or evolve. So you are more aware of your circle and how the people that are in your circle benefit you, right? Um, and how you benefit them. Like you're just more aware of why people are in your lives and what purpose they bring and what purpose you bring to them. You're more aware of who has your best interest at heart, right? You can take into consideration, like, okay, this person moves this way. This is something that always bothered me. I wonder why. Is this something that I should dig into? This is a conversation that I have. Like I said, you're not shying away from the hard conversations. You're not shying away from the hard things, right? So just taking that into consideration when thinking about your relationships, and eventually as you begin to grow, the people that should be there will be there, and the people that aren't supposed to be there won't be there, right? Because you're now setting boundaries, you're now sticking to those boundaries, and the people that are just kind of hanging on the coattail will remove themselves, or you may have to remove people, out of your life, just depending on, the situation. But knowing and understanding that you're growing and that you're evolving and healing is taking a look at your environment and seeing how the people around you are reacting to that. And if they're removing themselves, if they're distancing themselves, if there's so many key indicators. You may even find yourself in isolation, right? You may find that everybody around you just kind of disappears as you are growing and healing. And sometimes we may receive that as it's not working or there's an issue or a problem. But if you are truly evolving and healing, you may be growing past the people that you have been in relationship with, especially for those long-term friendships and relationships. So as you're growing and as you're healing, you may notice people fall off. You may notice people change how they respond to you or how they speak to you or how much they even engage with you. So keep that in mind as you are growing. You may see different differences and changes in your relationships. Let's see here. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. I said you'll be more aware of who has your best interest at heart. You'll end relationships and start new ones. You may find yourself in isolation. I talked through that. And not everyone is meant to grow with you, right? And sometimes we prevent ourselves from growing because of the fact that we are trying to hold on to people that are holding us back, right? And you can't grow. There's sometimes where you just can't grow because of the company that you're keeping. And a lot of times that's the only reason why you're having a hard time growing, because you're allowing the validation, you're allowing the people around you and their ideas and ideologies, or even the thought process of what they are expecting from you and the things that they're putting on you, and you're accepting that as gold, whereas that may not be you anymore, right? And those people may start to begin to fall off as you grow and as you set boundaries with them. So keep that in mind. I know that I went through a lot here, but that was the last one. Number one was that you desire for growth. So how do I know I'm healing? That you have a desire for growth. It's a key indicator. You have increased self-awareness. You have better decision making. You're less concerned with external validation. You're setting and sticking to your boundaries. You have resilience in your setbacks, and your circle is evolving and changing. So yeah, keep that in mind, y'all. I hope this is helpful. I'm going to dive into the affirmations just so that way I can leave you all with something. There are 7 affirmations that you can walk away with today. Feel free to use them however you wish to. So if you want to write them down in your journal, feel free to do that. If you put them on sticky notes, if you record yourself saying your affirmations, if you just like saying them in the mornings, however you wish to use them. You can change the language. So if it doesn't sound right for you and you want to change it how it sounds or some of the words, feel free to do so. It's just a blueprint. And yeah, I always suggest writing them down, however you wish to do so. So affirmation number 1. Let me make sure I have. Okay. Affirmation number 1. Seeking growth is proof that I am already evolving. Seeking growth is proof that I am already evolving. Seeking growth is proof that I am already evolving. So just like we talked about the top of the live, that when you are actively seeking out growth, that's already the beginning. That's the beginning of knowing. That's the beginning of wisdom. That's the beginning of healthy changes. That's the beginning of growth. So just understanding that just in the fact that you are seeking out healing and growth, that's the beginning of that growth. Okay. That's number 1. Number 2, I am becoming a stronger, wiser version of myself every day. I am becoming a stronger, wiser version of myself every day. I am becoming a stronger, wiser version of myself every day. This is just a reminder that this is a daily walk, right? This isn't something that's going to happen overnight. And a lot of the things that you're going to notice about yourself changing and evolving is going to be in small little pockets of your lives that you will see on a daily basis. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about, oh my gosh, am I progressing? Am I getting better? Am I healing? Am I evolving? It may not show up as prevalent as you would want it to show up. It's going to show up in those little pieces of your life that you may have missed. So keep that in mind. It's a daily walk. It's something that you're not going to that's not going to happen right away. It's going to be a process, and then one day you're going to look up and you're going to be like, dang, I actually handled that much better than I thought I would. Or man, like my whole mindset with this is totally different than it would have been maybe 2 years ago. So it's going to be something that's going to take time. It's going to be in the length of time, and it's going to happen in small pieces. So if you don't see it right away, that's okay. Give yourself some time. Okay. So I am becoming a stronger, wiser version of myself every day. Number 3, I am honest with myself, trusting my ability to grow through truth. I am honest with myself, trusting my ability to grow through truth. I am honest with myself, trusting my ability to grow through truth. It all starts with honesty, okay? It all starts with you being real with yourself. And the more that we allow ourselves to operate in denial, operate in avoidance, and the more that we lie to ourselves, the longer it will take for us to grow and to heal. We're going to prolong that process because of the fact that we can't even take the time to be really honest. And that's hard, right? It's hard to be honest with yourself sometimes. It's easier for us to just deny and avoid and to not practice, because I would have to say honesty is a practice, especially when it comes to our own accountability and our own authenticity. And it will be difficult to be honest with yourself. It's hard for you to tell yourself, like, listen, you ain't doing what you're supposed to be doing. You need to be more disciplined in this area. Some of it's easier than others because it can lean more on the anxiety side, where we get anxious about all of the things that we need to do or get done or be better at. But sometimes even in the fact that we have anxiety, or if we have pride, or if we have any of these things, it's hard to be there. So when it comes to, am I growing? Am I healing? It starts with honesty. It starts with awareness, like I already talked about, and it starts with honesty. You have to be honest with yourself. That was number 3. Number 4, my healing unfolds in divine timing, and I am patient with the process. My healing unfolds in divine timing, and I am patient with the process. My healing unfolds in divine timing, and I am patient with the process. So that goes back to number 2, I believe it was, where we just talked about the fact that it's a process. It takes its time. You go at your own pace. It's not going to happen overnight. Don't beat yourself up about that. Okay. Number 5, I welcome growth even if it feels like it's not working. I welcome growth even when it feels like it's not working. I welcome growth even when it feels like it's not working. Sometimes the work that you're doing on yourself is going to feel like it's not working. It's going to feel like frustration. It's going to feel like confusion. It's going to feel like uncertainty. It's going to feel painful at times. So understanding that even within that uncertainty, even in that confusion, that pain, that frustration, that growth is still on the other side, but not even just on the other side. Like if you are willing to go through that pain, then that in itself is growth. Because on the other hand, the opposite would be I can operate in avoidance, I can operate in denial, I can keep lying to myself, I can keep avoiding these things that I know that I need to handle and get done. Whereas if you are willing to go through the pain of evolving and changing and doing that hard work, that in itself is growth. But you want to make sure that you welcome growth, even in those instances where it doesn't feel like it's working, or if it doesn't feel like it's worth it. Because it's like, okay, I could just avoid all of this and just not worry about it. But how will that hurt you in the future? And a lot of times when you find yourself growing or healing, there may be some pain because, like I said before, growing pains. There's a thing of growing pains, right? Like you may experience some pain during that time, but a lot of times that pain is temporary, right? On the other side, that growing and healing, that pain begins to cease, and then it becomes no pain at all. Whereas if you don't go through the process, then you're just in pain all the time. You're depressed, you're sad, you're frustrated, you're angry, you're bitter, you are operating in unforgiveness, you are, in this daily pain versus you being in a little bit of pain for a while and then it kind of ceases and goes away. So it's kind of like when I talked about before with choosing your hard, right? Life is hard in general, and you get to choose what kind of hard you want to use and go through. And if you want to choose temporary pain to be able to get on the other side of growth, or if you want to choose your daily pain that you will use for the rest of your life, right? Because you just continue to avoid or not accept or push away. So just keep that in mind when thinking about growth, because growth hurts. I said all that to say growth hurts. Sometimes it's painful. And just because there's pain present doesn't mean that there isn't growth present, right? So that was number 5. Yeah, that was number 5. Number 6, I am worthy of embracing my emotions with compassion and understanding. I am worthy of embracing my emotions with compassion and understanding. I am worthy of embracing my emotions with compassion and understanding. So understanding that you have the worth of thinking through, processing your emotions, right? And when you're able to find ways to process your emotions in a healthy way, that allows you to be in a space of growth and healing. Because when you're able to process your emotions, then you're able to regulate, you're able to make decisions, you're able to make lucid decisions, you're able to think through and be intentional on how you respond to things. Whereas if you're not processing your emotions, then they're going to come out in different ways, right? And they're usually or typically going to come out in ways that you don't want them to come out. So the more that you focus on processing those emotions, not even just processing, but also identifying what you're actually feeling. Because a lot of times we have a hard time with healing or growing because we aren't able to identify or even articulate or communicate what we're feeling and how we're feeling, whether it be internally within ourselves or externally to other people. So it's not even just processing those emotions, but also identifying what you are actually feeling. Because, well, for example, anger a lot of times is a secondary emotion, right? It's something that you feel attached to the initial emotion, which could be hurt or could be pain or embarrassment or confusion or uncertainty. So a lot of times we may just say, oh, I'm just angry, I'm just so angry, I'm just so angry, when really that's the secondary emotion. You want to dig into what your primary emotion is. What are you really feeling? Because you could be sad or hurt and then you become angry because you're sad or hurt, right? Or you could be really uncertain, right? Uncertain about certain situations or whatever you're in, but then you feel anxiousness because of your uncertainty. So understanding not just what you're feeling in the moment, but why those feelings are there can also be a key indicator of your awareness, right? But then also how you can handle or move forward with the situation. That may change your response when you know that you're hurt, but now you're angry. You may react to the anger and not react to the hurt. You know what I mean? So understanding that you're able to understand and process your emotions, but also identify what you're actually feeling. You can feel more than one emotion at a time. So picking through that and having a good understanding of that is key to your growth and understanding. That was long-winded, but I hope that was helpful. That was number 6. Number 7, and this is the last affirmation, I believe. Yeah. So number 7, I am expanding in ways that my past self never imagined. I trust the discomfort. I'm expanding in ways that my past self never imagined. I trust the discomfort. I am expanding in ways that my past self never imagined. I trust the discomfort. And that just goes back to when we're talking about being okay with being uncomfortable, because growth is uncomfortable, right? It's not going to be, it's not going to feel nice all the time. And it's not going to feel good. You know what I mean? So it's thinking about that and accepting the fact that discomfort is a part of growing. Discomfort is a part of healing. And the more that you're able to embrace that, accept that, and even dive into that, the more that you'll be able to go through that process of growing and healing. The more that you dive into that uncomfortability and that discomfort, I would even say and go as far as saying the faster you can grow and heal. Because a lot of times we go into, hi Ashley, thank you. A lot of the times when we go into this thought process of growth and healing, we go in with resistance, right? And we spend a lot of time resisting the growth. And if we would just go in and embrace that growth and embrace the discomfort and embrace the uncomfortability, it eliminates that process of resistance. And sometimes resisting wastes time. A lot of times it wastes time. So the more that you're able to embrace that discomfort, dive into that discomfort, and be okay with being uncomfortable in that moment. And a lot of times that uncomfortability is temporary, right? Me being on lives and talking to y'all every week was uncomfortable it's still kind of uncomfortable for me, but it was uncomfortable at first. But as I continued to do it, and as I continue to get more comfortable with it, it created a lot more growth within me, not just with this platform, but also just in life in general and just speaking to people. I just was like I would say I kind of keep to myself, but then I do have like a very outgoing personality when I want to have it. I guess I don't know what that's called, because like I have to be in the mood to be outgoing. But if I'm not in the mood, then I stick to myself. So it sometimes would be difficult for me to speak to people, just going out and just talking to people. I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to come across nobody. Oh my gosh, I got to ask somebody a question at the store. I don't want to. So it's like me putting myself, if I'm going to be, communicating with people, especially with the degree that I'm in and having to talk to people on a consistent basis. I'm also in recruiting now, so I always have to talk to people. But if that's the situation that I want to be in, then I want to put myself in more situations where I need to talk to people, right? So that way I get more comfortable with having conversations, and having sparking conversations with people, right? So how do I do that? If that's something that's a part of my goal, if that's something that's a part of like where I want to be and where I'm going and the direction I'm going, how do I get better at that? By practicing it. So I intentionally put myself in situations where I'm talking to people about random things, or I'm talking to people just in general. So like I started doing that for me. I started doing that by just complimenting people when I'm out. When I go out and I go to the store, I see some cute shoes. I'm like, hey girl, them shoes is cute. Like I would never do that in the past. Never. But and I always get great responses. I feel like complimenting people, you're gonna get great responses. So that's how I kind of got myself out of the fear of talking to random people, because hey, if I'm going to be a counselor or a therapist, I'm going to have to talk to random people, and I'm going to have to come across people that I've never come across and be able to find likeness within, pretty much anybody that I talk to. So that was my way of practicing, of intentionally putting myself in uncomfortable situations. You can do the same. It doesn't have to be the same thing or the same situation, but if you're looking to grow in an area, think of ways that you can practice in that area that may be uncomfortable. And the more that you do that, the more that you're consistent with it, the less uncomfortable it will be. It can be something as simple for me as talking to people, or it could be something that as more difficult when it comes to you don't go to the doctor, right? Maybe it's something you don't go to the doctor. It's just something that you don't like, but you know that it's something that's going to help with your well-being and make you a better, person physically. Or if you don't like going to the gym, or you don't like working out, like whatever it is. Find ways to make yourself uncomfortable to practice that thing. Be curious about it. Dive into it. Don't be afraid of it. And even if you feel the fear, do it anyway. Okay? Bypass the fear. Just because fear pops up in your brain, it doesn't mean that you have to react to that fear. You can still do what you were intending to do. A lot of times fear don't pop up until we start the doing. And all we need is to just keep doing. Not because a lot of times the fear just makes us stop. Like, okay, I'm afraid. I'm not going to do this no more. I'm done. I'm not doing that ever again. No, dive into it. Push yourself into it. So that's my soapbox. I hope this was helpful, y'all. I'll go back through the affirmations. Number 1 was seeking growth is proof that I am already evolving. Number 2, I am becoming a stronger, wiser version of myself every day. Number 3, I am honest with myself, trusting my ability to grow through truth. Number 4, my healing unfolds in divine timing, and I am patient with the process. Number 5, I welcome growth even when it feels like it's not working. Number 6, I am worthy of embracing my emotions with compassion and understanding. Number 7, I am expanding in ways that my past self never imagined. I trust the discomfort. I hope this was helpful, y'all. Thank you, Ashley. Seeking growth is proof that I am already evolving. Absolutely, absolutely. It is definitely the fact that you are seeking growth. You could not seek growth. Like the fact that you're actually seeking it out is growth in itself. So just understanding that it's going to be little steps, y'all. Again, this live is every Monday. Thank you so much for watching. Every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll post a new poll for topics on this Saturday, so that way we know what we're going to talk about next Monday. If you're looking to get any updates from the Mindfulness newsletter, or even just updates from this live, please go to haveninspired.com. The website should be in the comment, or not probably in the comments, in the description. Go to haveninspired.com and check out the site. Also, you can just sign up for the newsletter. Trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. And yeah, y'all, just check out all of the stuff. The meditations every week. You should get 2 this week. I hope you guys will get 2 new meditations this week. So check out for those. And then yeah, if you guys are have not checked out my book yet, but you can check out my book. It's called Non-Self, Let Me Be Great. It is an inspirational workbook for self-worth or building self-worth and self-awareness. You can get that. The Amazon link is also in the description. And yeah, I'm headed over to TikTok to do the same live, but I hope all is great tonight, and I will see you all next Monday. Bye, guys.